ask me, am I just saying what I have?
You can say yes, and then you're going to tell us what you have, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Yeah, it's basic.
Okay.
All right, take
2! Do you have any clinically diagnosed mental disorders?
Yep.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I've been diagnosed with anxiety and depression.
I personally have been diagnosed with general anxiety, which is a cluster B trait for me, which mainly manifests as a borderline personality disorder.
I'm clinically diagnosed with DID or dissociative identity disorder.
I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, OCD, PTSD, and anxiety.
It's a long list. I start out with OSDD1B, which is a form of DID, a specific form of DID that comes without dissociative amnesia, which splits into 4 different categories for me, one of which is ASPD, the other which is BPD, others 2 are depression and anxiety.
I am diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression.
What is it like living with your disorder?
A lot of the time for me, it's really hard to have a relationship or a friendship even, because I can get really stressed and anxious about how people are seeing me and how they feel about me.
It is difficult and hard. It is something that gets in the way of my everyday life, work, family, going out, and trying to be a normal teenager.
It is terrifying sometimes, as you will not realize what happened or why you can't remember anything, or people will say they have memories of doing something with you and you don't remember it. And other times you feel not yourself, or you hear someone else and they're not there. And if you don't realize what it is, it can be very terrifying.
How do you feel the media has portrayed your mental illness?
They make it seem like I'm an awful psychotic person. They make it seem like I'm ready to hurt everybody. They make it feel to me as if I don't belong in society and I should be in my room or in a straitjacket all the time. But that's because of what they see on social media, and it hurts, and they see what they see on movies, and it just really bugs me that my mental illness is something that is rare, because you don't really see anybody that has the mental illnesses I have, especially DID.
The media, I feel, has done barely anything to portray people with mental disorders as human. They sort of see us in a fashion that's trying to make it look somewhat dangerous. And if it's not dangerous that they're trying to make it look like, they're trying to make it look romanticized or something that you want to have. Let's take schizophrenia as an example. Schizophrenia is a horrible, horrible mental disorder. I have an aunt who suffers from schizophrenia, who used to suffer from schizophrenia, and she killed herself at 17.
The media portrays it like in movies and like TV shows as just like a little thing. Like they just think of the anxiety that kids have in school and all that, but there's like a bunch of anxiety related things that aren't related to school, and it's just really portrayed really terribly.
What is it like living with your disorder?
Living with my disorder, I found my life is a lot different than a lot of neurotypical people would be. Like, I have to think about things a lot more. I find that I have to think about coping strategies.
and I have to be careful for things that can trigger my disorders, like for example, I get very triggered by stress, and the problem with my disorders is that they all seem to trigger each other. So my stress, if it's too high and if I've been working too hard, that means that I'll probably go into a mood swing from my bipolar disorder, and that could be depression, that could be mania, and a lot of the time I have to notice when I'm working too hard. But the problem is that my OCD will give me intrusive thoughts telling me that I have to work 11 hours a day. Like, I've done that before without eating or sleeping.
I don't really have many healthy coping mechanisms. I've always kind of gone towards drinking and smoking and doing just about anything that isn't good for me just to kind of get by and do what I can to live a life that I can at least find to be bearable.
A lot of people don't understand when they meet my alters. It's like, so is it a world inside your head, or is it a movie? Is it like a window? People don't really understand it, and then when they do meet my alters, it's all the questions where it's, where did you come from? How old are you? Do you actually exist? How do you think you exist? And why are you third personing yourself? So yes, it does feel like it's not understood well enough.
Most of my family doesn't really believe that I have mental health issues because they, in a way, because my parents have had mental health issues themselves, they don't want to bring it to themselves to think that their own child has it. So in a way, they sort of ignore it that I have it, and that I'm like, I've been clinically diagnosed by 2 doctors now, and they just can't bring it to themselves, and they still treat me like absolute shit because of it.
I don't like the feeling that people, as soon as they hear, oh, you have a mental illness, apparently you're weak and you need to be coddled and you need all of this attention and stuff. Like, I don't want that. Like it's good for people to understand and be respectful, but I don't want people to start to, I don't know, think that I'm less capable than anybody else, because I know that I'm not. And like, I have things that I want to do and be successful, and I know that like I want to do things that people may think that somebody with my diagnosis is, like, that they would never think that somebody like me could do those things, and I want to prove them wrong.
I don't really care about the world understanding me. I'm not here for people to know the ins and outs of who I am as a person, ever. That's not my goal in life. My goal in life is to have a life that I'm proud of. At the end of the day, I want to stand proudly looking back on the life that I lived. And whether or not people understand me, or whether or not people knew what I was going through, that's not the point. As long as I can look back on everything I did and say, yeah, that was worth it, that was a life that I'm proud to have lived, that's all I care about.
This is your ocean, grinding up rocks with your molars. A big fish swims comes past your rod, you can't catch it, it's far too fast. Deep bookmarks and rubber lips, I see your eyes and